Right then, this is a quick road test video, and this is for a Honda CR-V 2-litre EX automatic petrol car. This particular car is registered AG62GFO, and mileage at the start of the road test is 40,452 miles. Sorry, just checking the battery on the phone there a second. The reason we do the videos is basically so that anyone that's looking at this car online in an advert actually gets an opportunity to see the very car advertised in operation. We know to our own frustration just how annoying it can be to go and see a car that's been described as good and looks great in the photos and adverts, only to find when you get there it's got a fundamental mechanical fault which would immediately manifest itself on a test drive. So we do this so there's no intention of ever wasting anybody's time when they come to see us. Road test is also done, by the way, on these lovely quiet country roads very close to our premises. We're literally just a few minutes off the M5, just north of Bristol. You'd never believe it out here, it's so quiet, so it does make for quite a relaxing trip to us. So coming to the car itself, it's been very, very well maintained. All of the servicing up to the service we've literally just done today has been done by the Honda main dealers. Engine is perfect, starts absolutely instantly, settles to completely smooth and even idle. There are no warning lights on the dashboard relating to the engine or any other part of the car. The engines are just lovely, lovely units. They're very typical of Honda, very sweet and keen to rev. Got a lovely kind of soft engine note to them. And it's just it's a joy to use day in, day out. That's, you know, some cars can be nice on a test drive, then you have them for a while and they just you find them grating after a while. But this is just such a sweet-natured engine. Obviously a cam chain driven engine and a reputation for reliability and longevity that's absolutely unmatched in its class. There's nothing with the reputation of these engines. Which is why they are so sought after on the used market, because they can take hundreds of thousands of miles in their stride with just fairly normal servicing. Engine then feeds through into the automatic gearbox. As you'd expect from a Honda gearbox, it's lovely and smooth in operation. The gear changes are really slick. Again, as with the engine, very, very, very tough indeed. Just with, I don't want to tempt fate, but we've never ever had an issue with an automatic gearbox on a Honda car, and this feels exactly as it should. The gear changes, you know, you can hardly feel them, they're there, but you know, they're just there now. And again, you know, there's nothing to let you know it's actually changing gear really. Despite reputation, you still do the obvious checks, just make sure there's no sort of nasty thunks and engagements or sort of harsh gear changes on the move, but this is perfect. Gearbox also does have the facility to change manually if you so wish. It's on the little paddles here, hardly ever used, if at all. Time I use it would be for an overtaking manoeuvre, so if there's something in front of me now, pull one of the tabs, it'll tell you what gear it's selected me fourth, I'll change down to third, accelerate past, change up with this one if needs be. It just means that the gearbox won't suddenly change up halfway through the manoeuvre, which can be quite a frightening thing, because the gearboxes always want to change up as early as possible to obviously maximise your fuel economy, but all working exactly as it should. Steering on the car, real strong point on these CR-Vs, lovely, precise, very accurate, very un-SUV like in that sense. It's, you know, it's much more kind of conventional car-like in the way it feels and drives, but it's a lovely setup. It's also I can't feel any wear in it at all. It just feels tight as a drum. The track's absolutely bullet straight. There's no vibrations coming back through the steering wheel either at this speed or any speed up to the legal limit. I'll just check the brakes now, because I'm just going to I've got to turn around here, so it's a good time to do it. Give them a bit of a thump. I know they're good anyway, but I'll leave that until long. But yeah, really good brake pedal on the car. What I'm looking for is basically when you hit the brakes, there shouldn't be any kind of pulsing or vibrations from the brake pedal, and the car should come down nice and straight, not veer sort of violently left or right. Chassis of the car, by the way, again, Honda, they do know this market so well. The CR-V is the best-selling SUV in the world. so they clearly know what their customers want, and what it gives you is a very, very comfortable car indeed. But it also corners without wallowing and pitching. You know, it's not a sports car, don't get me wrong, but it feels very, very controlled. My kids are terribly prone to car sickness, and they don't suffer, and I've had so many CR-Vs, I've lost count virtually, and they don't suffer in them at all. Whereas one of my favourite cars ever was a Toyota Land Cruiser, and I loved that car. Unfortunately my kids didn't, because it was quite wallowy. But these are a different beast altogether. Also, on the chassis side of things, what I'm looking for on road test again is just any signs of any kind of noises coming from underneath the car that shouldn't be coming through. So you'll hear it hitting a bump, but you shouldn't get any kind of knockings or chattering noises coming from underneath, and there's nothing from this car at all. Looking inside the car, absolutely astonishingly well made cars. They are beautifully built, and this interior is absolutely gorgeous on the car. It simply doesn't work on some cars, but it works beautifully in these. The combination of the lighter trim, silver and black, blends really well. It's not garish at all, and it's easily wiped clean. You know, this is, in my opinion, it's actually more practical than the darker interiors, but that's a personal opinion, because I've got a dark interior on my current car. But it also means on sort of darker days, you know, go through here, it's still nice and light with a panoramic roof on these EXs. It doesn't feel too gloomy inside, especially for the people at the back of the car. Everything inside the car, by the way, working exactly as it should. You can see there, sort of sat nav's obviously working. Air conditioning is absolutely ice cold, by the way. But it's the quality of the switchgear which always impresses on these CR-Vs. You press a button, everything's got beautifully damped actuation to it. It's also worth pointing out that, you know, the build quality of these goes on and on. I literally did a road test yesterday on a rare for us to have one with a high mileage, but done 120,000 miles or near as damn it, and it felt exactly like this inside. So all the switches still felt beautifully built and, you know, crisp in actuation, and that's typical of Honda and the way they build these things. But everything else, all the dials, all the functions, steering wheel looks absolutely and feels like new in hand. Lovely sort of sized steering wheel as well. It's not overly big, but yeah, we've been through it and it all works exactly as intended, as I said. Just briefly, these are obviously four-wheel drive cars, albeit you don't do anything, the car does it for you. It's fully automatic, so if your front wheels were to start to lose grip in snow or a bit of mud or something, then it automatically brings in the rear wheels to give you four-wheel drive, and it's absolutely seamless in operation. The advantages of it clearly are you use far less fuel, because you've got less friction basically, less mechanical stress put through the car, and your tyre wear isn't as extreme as on some permanent four-wheel drive cars. And also its simplicity means it's incredibly reliable. We just never touch them, and then we've sold thousands of CR-Vs using this real-time four-wheel drive or versions of it, and never so much as put a spanner on them. So it's incredibly tough. As I said at the start of the video, I said purely to show you the car in operation. There's nothing to report back. It drives absolutely beautifully. It really is a fantastic car, and as I said, it's so obvious why these are sought after second-hand. They can be dearer than other manufacturers, but if you jump in some and compare them to these, they will feel very cheap and sometimes quite worn by comparison. As always, if you've got any questions, please don't hesitate, do give us a call.